Oh hey, this time I'm going to speak for long and boring amounts on the issue of homosexuality. And for one, that there's a lot to this issue that on multiple scales, anyone who does not agree with the right to gay marriage always tends to use arguments that are wrong on multiple levels. For one, that marriage means between a man and a woman. The term marriage comes from an old French term, which comes from a Latin term, which called meritus. Meritus, I don't know how to pronounce Latin. That means to give a husband to, and perhaps also to give a wife to. I'm not sure, but in either case, that means that if you give a husband to another man, you're fulfilling marriage, and that means you can give a husband to a man, and that's marriage. It does not require the person you give a husband to be a woman. So marriage never states in any definition that it has to be a man and a woman. Never. Also, there's the problem of seeing it as a religious institution. You know, many people in my country, the United States, are like, oh, well, religion. Oh, well, gay marriage. It's a religious thing, you know. I'm trying to protect my religion, you know, and my religion states that homosexuality is wrong and gays shouldn't marry, blah, 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 and this is something that Christians do. Marriage is a Christian thing. No, it's not. The word marriage, the word meritus, goes back from before Christian times. It has nothing to do with whether you're a Christian or a Muslim or an atheist or a homosexual. And on that point, so if marriage is a Christian thing, then I guess Hinduists are fornicating, and so are Buddhists, and so are Muslims. So on multiple counts, I don't see how seeing marriage as a religious institution makes sense. Not only is it untrue, it sounds cruel. You're basically saying we don't respect the union of people outside of our religion. And so they're fornicating. If you're not a Christian and you have any sort of thing, Muslim, if you're in Japan, Kekkon, all of that stuff is fornication. You're not joined in that. They're just having wanton fornication sex and the bond of non-marriage Kekkon or whatever other culture is not Christian. And furthermore, if marriage was a religious institution, which it is not, then it has no place in state. You know, we see marriage as a institution of the state between two people with certain legal benefits. And you know what we have in the United States? Separation of church and state. So therefore, marriage or something needs to go away. Something needs to be cut off here. If marriage is Christian, then marriage doesn't need to be in law, because therefore it's violating the separation of church and state. I mean, that's 3 marks at least against I've made here. I honestly don't care as much what's right in this case, whether the religious people are right and marriage is a Christian thing, which I believe they're wrong anyway, or what I just said that they're wrong. What I say is, if you want it to be a religious institution, then stop making it a lawful institution. Get rid of one or the other. Make it a law, or make it a religious thing. You have 2 choices here, because you can't have something so religious in law, which is what you're trying to argue about marriage. You're biting yourself by saying that marriage is a religious institution, which it's not. But fine, have it removed from law. Let's get rid of marriage then. If that's what you want, if you want it to be religious, get rid of it. I honestly sometimes think the world would be better off without marriage, but you know, it's a cute little ceremony. People like to feel bonded, and you know, I think that of all people, you know, watched the thing the other day, video on an MSNBC guy who was like, yeah, let's with so many people divorcing, and you're going to deny two people who love each other and believe in their own bond just because they're the same sex? What kind of distinction is so and would you rather these gay people marry the opposite sex and make the other sex that they're marrying feel bad? Come home to an unloved wife just so you can have an excuse and seem normal in society. Oh, this is my wife, but he goes out and he sleeps with other men. Do you want that? Do you want situations like that better? I don't think that's right. That's not romantic. That's not beautiful. Cut off. That's not protecting marriage. Not at all. And the argument about nature. There are gay animals. Alright, so you say it's against nature when there are gay animals other than us. And since when did something have to be natural to be okay? That's called a naturalistic fallacy. Things aren't better because they're natural. I could say a lot of things go against nature about religious conservatism. For one, all the celibacy and such. That's not natural. A lot of the things aren't natural. Fasting isn't natural. Perhaps there's something unnatural about masturbation because it doesn't foster a seed hitting an egg and making a baby. And of all the things, aren't there too many children out there and the world overpopulated? Aren't there too many people having children who shouldn't be? And now we're saying, oh, there's something wrong with gays because they're not having more kids. Gays can have kids, and so can lesbians. It's called donation. They can do it artificially. And if you want kids, then put forth the idea that people ought to have kids if that's your perspective, and leave the gays alone. They can still have kids, just not through the regular sex method. We have science. We have other methods than just the raw, in the bedroom stuff. I'm sure you're against that anyway, because apparently most religious, crazy right-wing people think that having sex is just gross and perverted, period. You can't even have sex for pleasure to some Christians. So I'm sure taking away all of this nasty fluid exchange and for a much nicer, unprimal, stoic doctor process of sperm donation and such would be much better from a Christian perspective. They're not having any carnal knowledge going on here. They're just going to the doctor, just like going to a gynecologist, probably better. And if that argument about not natural has anything to do with gay marriage, that they can't procreate, then sterile people shouldn't be allowed to marry either. There are lots of people who are heterosexual couples who cannot or do not want to have kids. Does that mean they shouldn't be allowed to marry? Is the whole purpose of marriage to allow people to foster children of their own seed and egg and sperm, whatever you want to call it? It doesn't seem like it was ever that way to me. It seemed like it was always a romantic union between two people. And the word marriage, don't get caught up in terms. The word marriage is just the same as civil union. It's just an older one. It's just an older term that comes from Latin, from a time from before the Romans liked Christians. A time when the Christians were likely killed. The term meritus was used, where people thought, oh God, you're a Christian, die, because they were pagans. So, if you think it's a religious thing, then maybe you're not married because you're not pagans. Apparently, you Christians are just fornicating or something because you're not proper pagans like the original real Romans. Good day, people. I'm running out of time. There's only so much I can upload. Hope I didn't do this too terribly.